J. Loayon, and I am going to discuss to you about Benjamin Franklin's intellectual revolution in North America. Who are the key figures in the revolution? During his long career of service, we shall never know how many men sought commissions in the revolution. But this much we do know, that Franklin was never deceived, as he never held out any hope for a commission unless the applicant had the ability in his choosing field. So at that time, one of the men aided very early was John Paul Jones. And as an admiral in the little American Navy composed of ships under his command, he took those two ships and sailed into English waters for a fight. In a terrific battle, two proud English ships surrendered, and they brought into French water as American prizes. When the United States flag, the red, white, and blue, became the official flag of the country in June 1777, the French Navy saluted it as the first of all nations. Another important selection was Baron von Steuben, who came to be an important leader at Valley Forge during the tragic winter of 1777 to 1778 in the reorganization of the Continental Army. At that time, Franklin wrote Washington a long personal letter about Steuben. When his services were accepted by Congress, he showed that he was thoroughly dependable, and his military ability and leadership were likewise shown in the reorganization of the army in the days ahead. His devotion to Washington and earnestness to his new country constitute fine commendation of Franklin's aid. In the final stages of the war, after long weeks of hard campaigning, Cornwallis was battled up in Yorktown, Virginia. Lafayette, who had done so much for the American cause out of his own private fortune and by his persistence to his own government for men, equipment, and ships, always backed up the entire procedure of Franklin. So, as the conditions became ripe and favorable, then Washington and his Continentals came down from the north and by rapid marches joined the French soldiers under Rochambeau, and the last great battle of the war entered its final phase. De Grasse, and commander of the French fleet, kept reinforcement away, and the armies under the supreme command of Washington, in a series of success attacks upon the British forces, led to the final conclusion and surrender of Cornwallis in October 1782. How did the revolution advance modern science and scientific thinking at that time? Benjamin Franklin's entrepreneurial spirit fueled American innovation during his time and can still be felt today. He made the people to think on how to make things useful. Useful knowledge was the term of art used at that time, both in England and in the colonies, and it was opposed to ornamental knowledge. And the notion of useful knowledge was that this was knowledge, science, investigation, observation that would allow us to live better. It was a very social aspect. So, it's everything from agronomy to how to make wine, to how to grow crops, navigation, cartography, anything that would kind of fall under the general category, perhaps, of engineering today. What controversies met the revolution? One of his first attempts in inventions needed revision. His political proposals weren't always enacted. He dropped out of school at a very young age, and he was seriously electrocuted during one of his famous experiments. But with hard work, tenacity, and a spirit of curiosity, Franklin bounced back after every obstacle and became one of history's great Renaissance men. Some of his early publications failed. One of Benjamin Franklin's early milestones was publishing the first German language newspaper in the United States, Die Philadelphia Zeitung, in 1732. While novel, the publication failed to gain a following and went out of press less than 1 year later. Another of Franklin's early publications, the General Magazine and Historical Chronicle, also failed after just 6 issues. But these failures meant almost nothing in the long run. Ultimately, Franklin became a hugely successful writer, editor, and printer with the Pennsylvania Chronicle, the Pennsylvania Gazette, and his immensely popular editions of Poor Richard's Almanac. His photonic alphabet never caught on. Interestingly, Benjamin Franklin believed that the standard English alphabet needed a bit of reform. His proposed new alphabet, known as the photonic alphabet, eliminated letters like C, Q, and W that he believed were unnecessary. He also thought up 6 new letters to replace sounds that require multiple letters. For example, the sounds TH, which is, and SH, which is sh. According to Franklin, this new alphabet would have created more natural sounding mode of spelling that prioritizes sounds created in one's windpipe or breath. Though Franklin's photonic alphabet was at least partially supported by America's most famous lexicographer, Noah Webster, the idea never even came close to taking off. So, it was considered too radical, and Franklin ultimately scrapped the proposal entirely. In my own perspective, Benjamin Franklin's revolution has a really great implication to the society. He was a person with classical education who took everything he learned and tried expanding it. Those pursuits included philosophy, science, politics, and culture. Notice he was one of the only founding fathers who did not wear a wig, as was a dominant aspect of men's fashion in a day. His philosophical and political, as well as culture, are evident in the form of the United States of America. His ideas were integral to the then radical idea that government was given rights by the people instead of the other way around, which had been the norm for over 1,000 years. His contribution to the understanding of electricity, most notably the invention of lightning rod, which protects everything from houses to skyscrapers to rockets, sitting on the launch pad. Notice 4 of them surrounding the pad and taller than anything in the area during every space launch. And we remember him as the inventor of bifocal glasses and the rocking chair rather, He was also the first postmaster general during the American Revolution, setting up the first national communication system. He was also an accomplished diplomat, being the first American ambassador to France, with his connections in France being critical to the success of the American Revolution. His importance as a scientist was significant, perhaps being one of the greatest scientists in the newborn America and the American Renaissance. But his importance as an intellectual in the multiple disciplines made a rather significant impact on the world in his time up to date. That's all. I hope you learned more from my topic. Thank you for listening. God bless us all.